All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I am one of your co-hosts, Stan Windhorn. With me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host, Carl Bauer. Carl, say hello to the audience.
Hey, audience. Hey, Vince, our
Hey,
mystery guest. How are
hey,
you
Carl, how's it
today?
going? Stan, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Well, let me just introduce who our guest is on this episode. When I say way back, I mean way back with this gentleman. There was a time when I was doing some TV work, and Vinny was one of the outstanding producers on that show, and we just became good friends. And we want to talk a lot about that. But anyway, welcome, Vinny DAmore.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We're we're glad to have you here. But Vinny, before we go into the subject today, which is I really want to cover a lot of how video production has changed since the days you and I were in
Oh
the
my gosh,
studio.
yeah.
But
Okay.
before that, I just got to tell everybody a quick story. So, Vinny's family used to own an Italian restaurant. He's laughing. He already knows where this story's going. They used to own an Italian restaurant there in Southern California, and I used to hear about these legendary family Sunday lunches or meals. And so finally, I got invited to one, and there was a nice salad, and then there was some pasta that came out, and I'm chowing down, and it was delicious. But I'm like, all right, this isn't exactly what you were describing. Little did I know that things were just getting started. Then there was sausage and chicken and this and that. I mean, a true Italian feast.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, and Carl, one of the things that was on a real friend level is I used to throw more parties back when I lived in California, backyard parties and stuff. And Vinny would always cook some delicious pizzas and do all these specialty things. So are you still cooking, Vinny? Do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still
I
do
still
it?
do pizzas and stuff. Yeah, people want to go to friends' houses and can we do pizzas and I'll bring over the dough and the sauce and I just say you go get the toppings and I'll make the pizzas and yeah, I do it on barbecues. I do them in the ovens wherever they want. Yeah,
Yeah,
still do it.
yeah. Well, that cooking talent has followed you through the ages. But Carl, Vinny and I got to know each other at the time. It was called Dimension Cable, and I don't remember. I think I went over there to shoot something, maybe a PSA or do some voiceovers. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing I know, I'm working with Vinny and some of the other great producers on what was then called Dimensions in the Community,
Community, yeah, yeah.
which was the lamest name of all time. But it was Dimension Cable who owned it, Carl. So we called it Dimensions in the Community. And then Cox bought Dimension. We thought maybe Cox in the Community might not be the greatest name. So we
Hey, hey,
just called
hey,
it In the
let's
Community.
let's
Yeah.
not go there.
Oh
I just
yeah.
did.
Oh
So
my
Vinny,
God.
let's go back to that time. How did you, was that your first like television gig out of college, or how did you end up
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I did a summer internship, and Kara was one of the other producers. And I just reached out to her and said, "Yo, I'm looking to do an internship." And so I went down and met with her, and it was kind of an informal one because if I did it over summer school, they wanted me to pay like $300 or $500 to do this internship, which I wasn't going to get paid for. No, that's okay. I'll just do the internship, and I'll take. And so Kara was like, "Well, you're not doing it formally." I said, "Well, I said, don't worry about it." I said, let's just do it and see what happens. And so they just brought me right in, and I started helping with the commercials that they were writing and shooting. They had a truck that would, or well, I call it a truck, but equipment we would roll out,
Yeah.
getting experience. And then a job opened up after I graduated, and the manager at the time, Carrie, I think was her name, she gave me that job. So that was like the first one out of
Yeah.
college. Yeah, yeah,
Well, speaking of a truck and equipment, it's kind of one of the things that I want to cover. Um, so, Carl, back in the day, I would go out and shoot a segment, and I always loved working with Vinny. There was another guy, Todd Stars, who was fun to work with. Um, but before I go into this, Vinny, I just want to give you a compliment, and I already shared this with Carl, but back then, you had to have a truck to carry all the equipment, and this equipment cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. When we were going to edit something, we're in this big room with all this stuff, and you really had to be trained on editing. And I want to talk about how that's progressed. But one of the things that I love the most about working with you, Vinny, is I would have an idea for a segment or whatever, and I kind of had in my mind what I wanted. And if you remember this, I'd sit there in the editing room with you and you're making everything happen. But I'm telling you, yeah, let's slow this down. Or what about if we added some kind of music to that? And I loved working with you because whatever great idea I had, you always added something to make it better. It was a really true partnership.
Well,
I
that
hope
was one
that
of
was your
the
memory of it too.
yeah, I mean, well, that was one of the first things I was taught in school is that it's not an individual thing, it's a collaborative medium. And you've got to come out of the chute learning to work with other people's ideas and kind of blend them. You just can't go, oh, no, no, you're wrong. It just was something that you came out with. And I think, I mean, even in film and television, it's all collaborative. I mean, nothing, everything down to the set designers and everybody that brings something to the table. I mean, it just builds your idea to
Yeah.
other levels, So I always thought that was fun because that's the challenge, right? You want to say, yeah, let's give that a shot, see how it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That was
Yeah.
my
Well,
theory.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. So back then we were shooting on what, 3/4 inch tape?
3/4 inch. We had to lug around that porta pack with
Yeah.
on the side, and I found a long cable so that the camera person could be at a distance, so you didn't have to carry that. And then we went to the beta tapes. We popped in, right? That made it a little
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. But what do you think one of those cameras cost back then?
Back then, with the lenses and all that, probably 25, 30,000. I mean, it was the
That's,
lenses were like 10 or 15, and that was a basic lens.
yeah.
The 3/4 inch cameras were a little bit less than the beta ones, but it was all about the chips that were inside and how big they were and all that. Yeah, and so now you flash forward, and this camera right here has
Yeah.
better image quality
Way
than those
better.
cameras. Way better. I
It's
mean,
it's just incredible.
yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
no, please.
I was gonna say I'd never imagined the advancements that we have now back then. When I saw the HD cameras coming out, and those were probably like, full size, and they shot on a tape, and then they went to a little disk drive and all that. Those were 90 to 100,000. But I never imagined a cell phone having the image quality that those big cameras would have.
So if you're shooting something today, do you use your phone?
Sometimes I have this Canon that's
Yeah, I
a
got one sim I got pretty close to the same thing.
yeah, this I don't know what model this is. It shoots regular HD. I want to get a 4K one, but I use this. I use that camera, and then I have a gimbal, which is like a steady cam. It has a
Yeah.
gyro on it, and I click
Yeah.
on that, and then I can walk around and I can see everything because you can't put your eye up to it. But I love doing that because I can walk up to shots, I can I can tilt, I can float. It really smooths everything out, and that's just, I mean, it was only a few $100s compared to what a Steadicam rig used to cost in the day,
Yeah.
$20,000 too.
Well, and they were this whole apparatus
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
had over your whole body, and
yeah.
and
Springs and
it was almost a two-man thing because you had to
yeah,
have somebody kind of there to move the cameraman.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it just, and then, I mean, back when we started, I considered it more of a craft because you had to go to a place that had that equipment because they had the money invested. Where were you going to get your hands on it? You had to go find a place that had the equipment. So, and it was a craft. You had to learn from other people, learn about the craft of lighting and editing and all this different equipment, soundboards, switchers. Now you on your laptop with your phone and you go to YouTube and you can teach yourself anything you need to learn because there's all these people that show you how to use all these applications and how to do things. And when I was in college, the equipment they had was probably 3 to 5 years backdated. So you weren't
Sure.
even learning on the newest stuff when you got out of college. So you had to go find a place. And then moving up, as I did as an editor, when I went over to the Orange County News Channel, I was in a bigger edit bay with more bells and whistles. And then when I moved to Michigan, I went to another place that was all digital and more bells. I mean, that edit suite was probably, 500,000 to $1 million. And now
Yeah.
all that stuff is done on a laptop. It just totally blows my mind, the stuff that you can do. So it put the technology in the hands of more, but then it just made the competition for you to find work even harder.
Well, I want to talk about that too. But when I was in college, when we were learning to edit, we literally would have the tape, and you'd have a
Splice
a splicer, basically a razor blade.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you'd put the two pieces of tape together and tape it. And can you imagine
yeah.
how tedious
That's
that was compared to what we can do now?
yeah. It's that was totally. It's archaic when you think about it. It really
So
is.
when you left Cox Cable, you went to the Orange County News Channel?
Yeah, yeah. I worked in commercial editing there too, and news editing
Okay.
some. Yeah,
Were you mostly doing editing or did you produce there too?
I did when they needed it because I had the experience in the background of doing the stuff with you, and when people would, when they had a producer leave here and there, they would say, "Hey, can you step in and help out with this because we're going to lose this job?" It was a corporate video, and so they pulled me in to go and appease the client and get the project rolling again. So I would jump in and do some producing here and there when they needed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
So jumping back to our days when we were working together, are there any segments, I'm just as for my own entertainment here, any segments that stand out or as a favorite or anything that you remember from any of those many,
well,
many segments
the
we
one
did?
we did with the wheelchair athlete, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Remember him? I can't. That was a fun one to do. And then of course, times was a blast to go
The
behind the
which one?
scenes of medieval times.
Well, yeah, that's what launched my career with Medieval Times is
Yeah,
when we shot
that
that
one was
one.
probably the most fun because we really got to do one of those behind the scenes kind of things and really get into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were in full costume and all that. That was pretty
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's
uh,
how I ended up, and then I did a 17-year run with
yeah.
Medieval Times because of that. But Carl, the athlete that he's talking about, I don't remember the guy's name either. I've actually got a picture of him. In fact, I will put it up right here in this segment. But he was an Olympic gold medalist in for the
Wheelchair.
wheelchair things, but basketball, tennis, and I think downhill skiing or something. But this guy was just so incredible and so uplifting and cool to be around. But back then, I was very much into playing basketball. And so I'm like, all right. So he had another wheelchair there for me, and I thought, all
That's
right,
right.
I'll show this Olympic athlete how to shoot some hoops. That guy freaking destroyed me. You
Yeah, he
remember that,
literally.
Vinny?
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was a blast. It was. Those are the things I love doing when you were in the community, just getting out and meeting people. And you
Yeah.
did some of the Byron Scott charity basketball events. You remember
Oh
those?
yeah.
Those were fun
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
We had the truck out
Super
for
fun.
that.
Get to meet all the NBA stars and
Yeah, yeah, that was
well, that
fun.
was certainly one of my highlights as I got to when I got to interview Magic Johnson. Uh, well, and that was 1 week before he made his HIV announcement,
Oh,
believe it
was
or
it?
not.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
yeah,
That wow, that's cool.
but yeah, that was super, super cool. It opened a lot of doors. We got to meet a lot of people and do some really
Hmm.
fun things. The medieval times segment was cool. Man, there was just so many. I enjoyed it. And you know what? For me, and Carl will relate to this. So I've done like pitch videos and demonstration videos and training videos and stuff for my career going forward. And a lot of times, in fact, it's funny, I did this pitch video. I was doing some other video in front of a car dealer, but I knew we needed like a pitch video, like a 60-second, 90-second video talking about the product. And so we had a crew there, and after lunch, I came up. I said, "Hey, you guys, come out here real quick and just shoot this for me." And I nailed it, 90 seconds, and probably two takes. And they're like, "Whoa, wow, how did you? What? No script, no nothing." And I really thought that skill set was a lot like what we would do because we would have a premise when we would go out to an event
Hmm.
but it didn't start coming together and I didn't know what I was going to say on camera and things like that until we got there and just sort of vamped our way through it and then of
Hmm.
course that's where your skill really came in was then editing it so that it looked really good but
Yeah, yeah.
I that was a skill set that I learned there that's carried me all the way through my career I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta wait till you get to a site and see what's there and kind of figure out how you're gonna pull your audience in. I always looked at it like from a childlike perspective and go, what is really cool? What would I want to see? And
Yeah.
that's when you're looking through the lens, that's kind of what you want to do. And so that's why all the stuff we did was so much fun because we were just like, okay, let's just wing it and go. That to me is
Well,
it's the most fun.
I always took at it like let's have fun even if it was making fun of myself, I was way okay with that. We were lucky to be able to do something lighthearted, not hard-hitting
Yeah.
news stuff. It was really
Correct.
lighthearted and
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
Vince,
after Orange, oh, go ahead, Carl. Sorry,
Quick
buddy.
question. So I think about this when we've had other guests on, and Stan knows this about my career. When I got into automotive in '93, I was literally using black and white film to take pictures of used cars to put in a publication.
Hmm.
And we literally had to take the pictures, develop them, print them, cut them out, put them on wax paper, like to build a magazine, a weekly magazine.
Hmm.
And just in the short time I was there, the 7 years I was there, we went from full on old school wax boards to full digital. So in your guys' space in this industry, we've seen that same metamorphosis, but half of me is like, yes, some of the talent and the skill and the training, the professionalism has gone away, but it opens such an amazing window for millions and millions and billions of people to post more content from different niches that you. So I'm torn on this transformation of old school to new school and how it's affected it. Like my daily industry, my day job is still in automotive. None of what I did to get in here is still there. Kind of like you guys in the video space, it is so. I mean, I was when I was had my head down, I was looking for uh, this hard drive, which is 5 terabytes of
Yeah.
data in
Yeah. I
this
know.
tiny little box, and I'm thinking, can you imagine the truck you'd have to have 5 terabytes of data when you
Hmm.
guys were shooting video? So yeah, tell us about that. It just intrigues me and boggles my mind that it's changed so much in just 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we would have tapes and we'd have to have tape rooms to put all the tape in and hold on to it for how long until you thought, okay, we don't need this anymore, and then just toss it or rewind it and degauss it, clean it and reuse it. Yeah, I've got this little here. This is what, these cameras shoot on, and this is 512 gigs. And a lot of the stuff I've shot, I haven't gotten close to using half of that little drive.
Mm.
Yeah, it has, it allows a lot of people into that creative space. But like, I consider myself old school when you work in a broadcast realm. When I was doing technical support for 10 years, I would work with people that were doing editing and stuff, and they had a hard time understanding when they edited something on their laptop. It looked really good on their computer, but when they sent it to us and we had to send it out to go be broadcast on a TV station, it was getting rejected by the news organization. The sound levels weren't correct. The video levels weren't. They didn't understand that. They're like, well, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. It looks good on my computer. Well, yeah, your computer can do it, but when you put it over air, there's a lot of parameters that come in that the FCC mandates that the towers have to do, and when the signal comes in, it has to be at these certain. So there's a lot of technical inconsistencies going on. But if you're only staying on your phone or on the web, it doesn't affect it for the most part. But if you're going to go into the broadcast world, there are still standards that you have to adhere to. And a lot of people don't understand that because they're like, what does that mean? And I'd have to go in the computer and show them where their video was. And there's a thing that shows you the levels of the whites. It's like, you're way too high here. You got to bring that down. Your audio levels are up here. They got to come down here. And there's filters that you can add now, and it just puts all that in parameter. But, this newer people coming in just sitting on a computer don't understand that. So that's where like old school people like myself kind of are like, yeah, it's really cool what you can do, but you still got to know what you're doing with exposure and all that stuff. So,
Let me ask you about that, Vinny, because I've got mixed feelings about this, but nowadays anybody can afford to get some editing software. If
hmm.
you spend some time with it, it's not that hard to learn to edit and stuff like
Hmm.
that now.
Yeah.
So the cameras on our phones are better than what we were using back when we were doing the TV show.
Hmm.
All of this stuff is true. But my personal opinion is it still doesn't replace talent. And what I mean by that is a lot of people can do stuff, but there's a talent to putting it together right and putting it together so that, like a lot of people get this stuff and they want to overuse all the effects and things
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
see,
yeah.
it doesn't give people taste.
Yes.
and talent. You see where I'm going, and do you agree with that, or what's your feeling?
Yeah, I do. I think, well, because you got this selfie world where these people are able to turn their phone on themselves and do this little blah 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 and then show some video. But if you went to that same person and said, okay, we're going to do a documentary on a wheelchair athlete, I don't think they would know how to start, where to begin. You know, you start with the interviews and then you look at shooting the stuff. There's a lot of to storytelling, that another level of it, that social media gets a part of it, but I don't think they see all of it on some level, unless they have the background in it. A lot of the stuff I do social media, I try still telling a story like in a commercial, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I'm always promoting something, you know. So, but you know, today, I mean, the audio is not very good because someone's in an acousticy room, or you know, they're in a warehouse, and the video levels, you know, but it's like it's forgiven. A lot of it's just forgiven. What we couldn't get away with years ago, now it's kind of like, they'll let it go.
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish too. Carl and I'll be the first ones to admit that our production quality of this podcast is not very good because we shoot this over Zoom, but we're looking for the quality of the content.
And correct, yes.
With this particular avenue, if we were shooting something that was going to be for a company, or we were shooting a movie or something, the quality would be certainly different. That brings me to another question, Vinny. Carl's actually been involved in the making of a movie. He is working on finishing up a documentary that sounds super, super cool. But you go on Netflix or Prime or any of these streaming services, and I'll see something, and the subject matter is like, oh, hell yeah, I want to see a documentary on that. And I'm just blown away at how boring and crappy so much of this is. I think they're just so starved for content that they're accepting stuff that is just not, and I'm not even talking about just the camera quality or anything like that, just someone who doesn't know how to put together a compelling story.
Yeah, I mean, with cable TV, when the different networks came out, they started finding a niche, right? You had MTV, you had ESPN, which was sports, then you had Speed Channel, which became Motor Trend. I mean, so through the years, they kept finding the niche. Now with social media and all that stuff, the niche has gotten even smaller, where you can find somebody that's just into whatever kind of motorcycles that are out there. So if you can just put something together to get eyeballs on it, that's really all they really want, is to just get the eyeballs to it.
Yeah.
You know, yes, they do have some standards and all that, but a lot of times you're like, well, okay, that didn't really meet much standard there, but that's just, yeah, that's the world we live. It's the world we live in now. Yeah. So if you can still tell good stories, you're going to have a big advantage over others that might be telling the same story. But it's so niche oriented now that, if you find somebody that's into crickets or something, somebody will watch it, pay to watch it.
Well, it's fun. This channel, we kind of base everything on three things: educate, encourage, or entertain. Call it the 3 E's, and we hope that a piece of this will have one of that little slices of strategy in it. But Stan, and I hate to give Stan compliments because we've got a big brother, little brother relationship going on, and we like to bust each other's chops a little bit. But Stan has really embraced, and we've talked about this in other episodes for those of you who are first timers here, the AI. And so the AI has done some stuff, and Stan's done some where I'm like, how the frick did you learn this quick with his magic tricks and some of the graphics and stuff?
Yeah.
And so some of and we know that AI is just the artificial intelligence that's learning from what you all did practically, throughout your careers. So how are you one of the people that is like, hey, it's a tool, I'm going to learn it so I can know, or are you like, nope, no AI? What's yours?
No, I use it quite a bit. I use it a lot because doing what I'm doing now to be fast at it, to write stuff, and I say, this is what I'm going to do. Give me some ideas, and it spits out all these ideas, and I can say, I like this, I don't like that. It's like having another collaborator with me.
Yeah.
And then chat also has this thing where it can read aloud. So if I have copy, that I want to use for an ad, it'll read it aloud. And what I do is I'll do a screen grab and I'll record that audio, and then I'll bring that into my video, and I don't have to hire sorry, Stan, I don't have to hire a VO.
I know, another one.
And the other thing is I do stuff in Spanish too for the company that I work for. It's a seafood company, but a lot of their restaurants and businesses are Hispanic. So I will also have it convert to Spanish, and it'll read it with a Spanish inflection. And I'm just like,
Stan, we got to license your voice, buddy. We got to figure that out.
Yeah. Well,
so and that's what I do. And it's like, and I can add that level of, I use it with images. I was given a box that was all marked up, and somebody at the company didn't like it. He's like, oh, we should have hired, I didn't shoot it. This is what they sent me. But he's like, oh, it doesn't look good. He was real upset. So I took that image and I put it into AI. I said, fix this image, make it high res, remove the blemishes, get rid of all the fingerprints on it. Boom. It looked like it was shot with lights and everything. And I was like, wow, I didn't. And I sent it back. I said, how's this better? It's like, yeah, that. So it's amazing what it can do. I can change the perspective of a shot. If I don't like where it is and it's a still, I can tell it, give me a low angle, do this, do that. It takes that one image and changes it. And I'm like, well, there you go.
well, there's a lot of people that, especially in the creative worlds, that are really scared of AI. I'm enjoying it. Am I a little bummed out that even people that I've known for years and years and years don't use me as their voiceover artists anymore because they just get AI? You're the second one, I think, in a row. We had my cousin on an episode or two ago, and they got a YouTube channel, and I was busting his chops too. That like your cousin is a professional voiceover artist, and you're using AI, and now you, Vinny, at two, Vinny.
I don't have a budget. I'm working with nothing here. I just, that's
work with
the,
you
Stan's
for
cheap.
nothing.
Stan's very cheap.
I would help you.
I know, but it's like, I can sit at my computer and it's there. I'd have to coordinate with you. I mean, there's no time. It's just like, boom, you can concentrate time down to nothing. That's the thing,
All right, you're forgiven, Fredo.
You could pay him in pizzas, Vinny.
Yeah,
what,
it's been a long time.
If he was here, we probably would be doing a lot more social media stuff. I think, he and I talked about a show called The Flip Side. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Orange County Flip
That's
Side.
totally a social media thing that we could have done together here.
Totally.
Building up an audience and get a few million viewers on it. But, you had
As
to
soon as
go.
I can afford to come back to Southern California.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
All right, well, listen, I want to talk about a passion project of yours because I think it's cool, and I just it frustrates the hell out of me that you're having such a hard time getting the right people to do this. But why don't you tell us about the musical that you have written?
Okay. Well, I was a big fan of the musical Mamma Mia and Jersey Boys, those types of things. And after seeing them, I was such a big fan of Bon Jovi that every time their music would come on the radio, I started seeing these characters in my head. Because I grew up in New York, and he's an East Coast boy, I started seeing all this stuff in my head, and it started driving me nuts. So I sat down and I took a bunch of his music from the 80s to up to 2000, and I wrote a musical called It's My Life. So I used their songs, but I created a story based out of Jersey, and it takes place in the 80s, so it's got the whole 80s vibe.
I thought you were calling it Living on a Prayer. Did you change that?
No, initially it was called Shot to the Heart, but I changed it now. I changed it to It's My Life because I felt
like that, though.
It fits better, the whole story and the motif.
Yeah.
Shot to the Heart had to do with more betrayal in the story, which is what I was focusing on. But now after looking at it from a bigger thing, and there's all the characters that are all wanting to, basically they're a group of high school kids in a band, and they're graduating high school, and they think they're going to make it big, and it's all the setbacks and all the things that happen to them while they're trying to do it. And I kept the theme of Tommy and Gina from the song Living on a Prayer, so it's kind of focuses around them and their friends.
Okay.
And so that's, what I did. And 2017, I think I wrote it. I got some feedback from different people that worked in theater, and then I got it to a college that was up the road from me in Michigan when I was living there. And she brought a bunch of students into the class, and we did a big read through with the music and played it, and I got a lot of good feedback from the actors. What was great about the feedback is I could tell when they were like, I'd like to see more of this and more of that. I knew that they were getting into the story. And so I started doing that. I added more to it, and then COVID hit. And the instructor, I was still working with her, making revisions, and she'd give me some feedback, and I'd make more revisions and stuff like that. So we kept in contact through the whole thing. But with COVID, she couldn't do anything. She wanted to put it on. She wanted to do it, but she's like, we can't do it on a stage, so I don't know how. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how we could do that if it's not on a stage. You can't have people in their house talking to somebody else supposed to be in the same scene at another room. It just didn't work. And so that's where I'm at here. You know, I mean, I've talked to different people, and I sent it off to some contests, musical. So I'll wait and see if anything comes back with that. But yeah, it's been tough out here in California trying to get people to buy into it. The
You
catalog.
guys Vince,
I
is there
read it
issues?
and I thought it was outstanding. And I've got a theater background as well. So I think I'm somewhat qualified to be able to tell if it's a good script or not. It just kind of really amplifies or at least shines a light on how difficult it is to get a creative project like that greenlit anywhere.
Well, I think with anything, I think if I had money behind me, it wouldn't be a problem. I really wouldn't. That's the thing, is you got to get the money.
Is there a licensing issue with the music, or how does that work on a music?
Yeah, I had early on when I had first done some drafts. You know, I sent it. I tried to find John Bon Jovi in Jersey and sent it, but I never got any feedback. I called the publishing libraries, you know, and I got some feedback from them. They're like, "Well, have you ever done something like this before?" I said, "Well, I've worked in television for a long time, so I don't see the issue." And they're like, "Well," they started hemming and hawing, and he's like, then they came back and said, "No, he's not interested." And I said, "Well, if I find a school or a college that wants to do it," I said, "would you?" They said, "Well, if you can do that, then come back to us." So I was out reaching to colleges after the issue I had with the one in Michigan, but here I tried. So I feel that if I can get a theater company to commit on some level, I could go to them and just say, you know, we want to get the mechanical rights for your music, and I don't think there would be an issue.
Dude, if that thing took off, you know how many more albums they would sell and downloads and everything? I mean, it'd be like to a whole new generation, not like,
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, I called his management company. That's one of the things I did too. And I got some young kid, and he's like, "Oh, well, you know, we're really not looking into that." I said, "Well, you're not looking into it because you don't have anything in front of you." I said, "But would you consider?" "Oh, no, we won't consider that." You know, it's the same. You
Yeah,
get running
yeah.
roadblocks.
You gotta work around some of the gatekeepers on those things.
Yeah,
You know,
and
Vinny,
that's
I wonder if you've ever thought about Vegas. So the reason why is there's been things like that. In fact, I went and saw one that was based on music from Queen. I think it might have been called We Will Rock You. I'm not 100% sure what the name of it was, but it was okay, and it was fun hearing the Queen music. I'm a big Queen fan. I didn't think the storyline was all that great, but it was a full-blown Vegas production.
yeah,
I,
I mean, again, without, if I can get some of it shot and edited, you know, that's the next thing I'm thinking about is I got to get the music recomposed because some songs are sung by women, some songs are by guys, some by a group. So I have to get it and I shorten the songs too because you get into these guitar riffs that are going on for a minute or two. And it's like, what are people on stage going to be doing? They could be
oh
dancing,
no,
but
you can't. Yeah, you
so I
got to
had to,
modify the music.
yeah. So I've made edits on there, and then I wrote to the edits if there's certain points. So I have to sit down with somebody to recompose it, whatever that is involved, and
Man, I'm
then
wondering if casting some people maybe figure out a way to do this on video, at least
that's what yeah, that's
like
kind of
a
what I have to,
trailer sort of a
yeah.
thing, and see if that might get some excitement.
Somehow, yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to do a scene or two, you know, just show it and get the music cut the way I need it to be.
so Vince, my oldest daughter works at NPR,
Hmm.
and she went to Belmont University, which is the number one music business school in the country. And they're always looking for things like this.
Hmm.
but she produced her senior project was because there's so much talent in Nashville and at Belmont, every week they have a talent show just with all the
Sure.
performance
Hmm.
education people. And then at the end of the year, they have what's called the best of the best. That's all the winners of all the shows. And Maddie, my daughter, produced that. My point there is that would be a project for a class where they could take chunks of this and do with all their instrumental people and vocal me and put together an unbelievable sizzle reel for what you all are talking about. Um,
Yeah, I tried getting some local colleges to help me with it, some things, and they just,
no.
no. It's
Well,
weird. I
there
mean,
you
they're like,
go.
well,
Maybe you've got the connection you needed, Vinny. And
yeah,
by the
yeah.
way, Carl, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody call him Vince since I've known him.
Well, it's on the
It's
Zoom.
on my
So
thing.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
But
if
it's
I use Vinny. Yeah,
Vinny.
people. That's the other thing. Maybe I should use Vinny because maybe people be afraid to break their legs if they don't listen. I think that might be more of a catalyst to, it's like anything. You meet the right people, but I thought if I find a local theater, even if, but I have to have the right age because this has to be 18 to 26-year-olds probably that would fit, that scope of the characters.
Yeah.
That's why I
Well, we'll
thought,
talk offline because I got a
okay.
couple other people that are working. It's funny who you run into, Vince or Vinny, when you're dealing with this documentary, and then within a couple phone calls, you'll love this little connection that because it just shows you that anyone can do anything with the right doors opening, right?
Sure.
Within two phone calls on our documentary, we were at the head of Netflix, a guy named Adam DeLeo, who basically said, "We love your premise. We love the story. We love your relationship with your foster brother. We love the mental health aspect, but he's just not a big enough name for us," which was so refreshing because everybody else you talk to, they're like,
Hmm.
well, maybe, yeah. And there's no answers, no definitive. This guy was like,
Sure.
awesome, finish the project, but it's not for us. End of story.
Hmm.
Thank you. Right? Great feedback. And then the other person we connected with led us to this guy named Ted Field, who you all may know from a connection. His grandfather started Marshall Fields, the big
Oh,
shopping chain, but he has made over, I think it's 80 films, starting with Revenge of the Nerds that we all grew up with, and finishing, he did The Last Samurai. He's done some massive things over, I think, 8 billion or 10 billion in box office. Two phone calls. I was on a Zoom call with him talking about this project, and he basically said, with our documentary, he's like, "I love the documentary, finish it, but I see this as a theatrical, so let's write a script. And you're going to need $10 million to do this film." And we're like, "Oh, slow down there, buddy. We ain't raising no 10 million bucks." So,
that's the
but
thing.
just
Yeah,
those
spending the money.
connections is
Yeah, that's the
is
thing. I think um, so much. I think would fall into place. Like I have a theater just down the street
yeah.
that's available for rent, and because I live in the neighborhood, I can probably go in and go. I don't want to pay the rent, but I'd like to put this on. Can you give me a couple of weekends or something when no one's using it? But I got to start. Yeah, I'm at the
At
point
least you're
now.
in a place, Vinny, where there's going to be plenty of people who are
Talented. Yeah.
probably talented, hoping to be discovered, and would work for little or nothing to put
Hmm.
together some sort of a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Carl and I'll help you with it.
All right.
All
I
right.
need
Well,
I need someone
listen.
like Stan that can call up people because he can sell ice to Eskimos. I just need that.
He can. That is for sure.
Yeah, I missed that job. Selling ice to Eskimos. All right. Well, Vinny, appreciate
Uh-huh.
your time.
All right, man.
But we want to, we do a couple of things here.
Okay.
Carl, why don't you take over the car questions for
Sure.
Vinny?
The pun intended here with what drives you was because Stan and I are in the car business. We started this
Hmm.
out as being a show about cars, right? Well, then we quickly morphed and realized, no, this is really about what drives you in life, what motivates
Sure.
you, what gets you off the couch. But we still keep this little nugget. We call it a rapid fire car question. So,
Hmm.
Vinny, what was your first car?
70 Chevelle.
Ooh,
What?
Yeah,
I
you ever
wish.
saw it? I don't have I have
Oh,
pictures of it in
maybe
my
I had
garage.
seen that.
It was
Yeah.
blue. I mean, it was burgundy when I got it. Back in the 80s, we'd crank the Bon Jovi. I rebuilt the engine. I tore out the interior. Redid the interior. My friend redid the paint for me twice. And then that was, yeah.
Do you
I
still
wish
have
I
that
had.
car?
No,
Oh,
Wish you
I
did.
sold it. Well, now I do, but back in when did I sell it? In the early 90s, did I sell it?
Yeah.
Maybe early 90s. It was, I had no place to keep it. I wanted to get other cars. It's just, yeah, I
yeah.
wish I had it now because, people are selling them for $15,000 and there's like no interior, there's nothing left of the car, no
Yeah.
engine, no
Right.
trans, on blocks, and they want 15,000 for it. And you're like,
Well,
really?
send us a picture. Maybe we can put that in the take here.
Yeah,
What
I'll send you a
was
photo.
of all your cars that you've owned, what was your favorite car?
I would think that, but I think the Chevelle, because I really got to learn about fixing cars and working on cars, that one. I had a
Yeah.
300ZX in 85. That was a fun little zippy car. That one I would think just from the fact that I really learned how to work on cars with that one.
Yeah,
Um,
that's some of my favorites. And then
yeah,
last rapid fire is if no budget, no checkbook, no nothing, what would be your dream car?
probably a C1 Corvette with all new updates to it, new engine. I would like a new Corvette, but the problem is the cars today, they're so sophisticated that to fix them, you need so
Yeah.
much equipment. I would rather have something older that's been updated, that's easy to work on, that you don't have to spend $4,000 to do an oil change on. I mean, that's what I would do. Yeah, I'd get a C1 Corvette and just do all kinds of suspension upgrades to it and all that.
Cool.
Awesome.
All
Good.
right. Well, Vinny, I got one last question,
Hmm.
memory question. I think you were with me when you just said the car that you had after the Chevelle.
Hmm.
Do you remember when we were shooting a parade? It was the Mission Viejo St. Patty's Day parade, and we had to go off site to go interview some celebrities, including the sheriff of Orange County. And then when we were trying to get back on the parade route, the sheriff deputy was like directing traffic, and we're like, we have to go through there. Wasn't that you with me?
I don't
And the
know.
guy pulled out his baton like he was gonna beat us up at the Mission Viejo parade, and I'm like, stop the car, let me get out, and I freaking
I don't know. I don't
was that
remember
you?
that.
That might have been
Maybe
Todd.
maybe it was Todd that took you that to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, really? You're gonna beat me with your baton at the
At
Mission
a
Viejo St. Patty's Day
parade.
Parade. By the way, the reason I got through here is because I'm with the TV station and I just got done interviewing your boss.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
this might look good on your record. Yeah.
yeah. What's your name and what's your badge
Badge
number? I just
number.
remember that. Anyway,
All
all
right.
right. Final question, Vinny. We
Uh-huh.
call this our wow question, the words of wisdom. Maybe it's something that you live your life by, a statement of some kind, or sometimes we say, what would you like to tell a young Vinny for what you know now, you wish you knew back then? So, what would be your words of wisdom for us?
Um, because I'm a private person, I think if I started out earlier, it would be more to self-promotion, to talk about yourself more and what you can do. I see a lot of people that are really successful, and Stan, you were into those motivational things. It's because they're not afraid to self-promote themselves.
Hmm.
And as simple as that sounds, I mean, now with social media, I can promote myself a little bit, but I was always so private and quiet, and I thought, well, I'll let the work show. But I think it's about promoting yourself and saying, you got to beat your chest a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a fine line sometimes between self-promoting to the point where you just look like you're full of it, but you
yeah,
also have to make sure that you let people know that you're aware of what your gifts and talents are. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's
I think
certainly some of that.
yeah,
Well,
that's
cool,
probably my
man.
biggest regret. All righty, man. I appreciate you guys.
I miss you, buddy. I'll
Yeah.
have to get out to California. We'll hang out,
All righty,
go
man.
eat some pizza.
Thanks,
Let's see.
Vince.
Thanks, Carl. Take care.
All right,
All right,
everybody,
let's see.
thanks for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. And remember, be good humans.